Operation with the Montana Broadcasters Association.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's time for Montana's only daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I like football!
Now here's your host, Coulter Nuanez.
I can feel it getting closer. Football season, when the stats perform, FCS preseason All-Americans land in the inbox, you have this realization. You're like, wow, it's almost here. It's right around the corner. And that happened today. So we're feeling the heat, both quite literally and figuratively. And we're going to talk plenty of football and football and whatever else we can get to here on this Monday. It's Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm Coulter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. I had a great weekend. A rather tiring but really, really fun weekend. I'll tell you all about it here in just a minute. Great hanging out with Marty Morneweg and watching he and his two sons, as well as Tommy Mellott, the former Walter Payton Award-winning quarterback for the Montana State Bobcats. They all hosted and conducted a high school quarterbacks camp on Friday. So I spent the morning out there hanging out with those guys and covering that. Got to catch up with Ari Gray, the head coach from Butte High School, Dane Oliver, the head coach from Missoula Sentinel, and a couple other my old coaches from Big Sky. Saw a couple of the media guys there. So that was fun, and then went to a little after party up there at Marty's house. He always hosts a big barbecue after his youth camp. So I got to see a whole bunch of other fun people up there as well. And then Saturday I headed up to the Electric City, went to Great Falls. One of my best friends got married, former Grizz, in fact, Ryan Bagley. So there's a couple, actually several former Grizz up there. So I'll give you the update on all those guys, just because I know people like to follow along. You know, they remember watching these guys and invest a lot of time in them. And then all of a sudden they haven't been playing for almost 20 years, and you wonder, what's that guy up to? What's that guy up to? So saw some all-time greats this weekend, and it was great catching up with all those guys. So we'll give you a little bit of update on that during our best of the weekend. We'll also get a little bit reflective here today. It's July 13th, so I'm going through my old notes. I have Google Docs dating back to 2021 when we first started Nuanez Now. And so I was just going through the docs that exist on the Google Doc, old outlines, and just looking at what we were talking about during that point in time. So I got a little retrospective for you from 2021, 2022, and 2023. Interesting to see how time passes, certainly. We're also going to talk some World Cup. What a World Cup it's been. I mean, you know, if you listen to this show regularly, you know I'm a football and a basketball guy. I've certainly gotten back into baseball because of our affiliation with the Missoula Paddleheads, but also because Jeff Safford is super into it. Obviously, he's the voice of the Paddleheads. He does a great job with all of our baseball stuff. Robert Chase, who is the former program director at the Trail 103.3, a huge Cardinals fan, watching the Cardinals all the time. And my wife's a big baseball fan, too. She's into the Atlanta Braves. We went to her grandma's house yesterday, and Grandma was watching Blue Jays, Padres, so certainly got back into baseball. I have never been into soccer. I was into high school soccer a little bit when I lived in Central Washington because it was such a big deal. Certainly been into high school soccer at a certain level in Montana since I've been doing this radio show. Especially the teams that are really good with these unbelievable dynasties like Hellgate, winning all these state championships. The Hellgate boys soccer team, Whitefish has had an unbelievable run. But I'm not like a guy that goes out of my way or even ever watches like the EPL or La Liga or any of the top professional leagues. I don't ever watch soccer, except for when it's at an international level. And I've been all the way into this World Cup, which has been super fun. Super fun for me, super fun for I know a lot of people around the United States and around North America. And we got the four best teams in the world now that are playing in the semifinals. That's pretty crazy that literally the top four teams in the FIFA poll, France, Argentina, Spain, and England, in that order, are the 4 teams that remain in the World Cup. It's also been pretty crazy to think that all the best players that exist, almost all at least, the best players that exist on planet Earth were in the quarterfinals. Like the final 8, if you go through the top 20 players in the world, like the most brand name guys that are getting the highest paychecks in their professional leagues, all of those guys played in the quarterfinals. And most of those guys are the guys that make up the teams for the 4 teams that are left. What a treat that has been. Again, I cannot proclaim to be any sort of a soccer expert, but if you were to say, okay, Coulter, tell me all the soccer players you know. I probably could have named like 8 guys before the World Cup. Guess what? We got to watch all those guys, and you're still getting to watch guys like Messi and Ronaldo and Kane and all these other great players that play for one of those top 4 teams. So that's pretty cool. I think that's been a huge boost to just the interest in the game, no doubt. So we'll talk some World Cup about 4:30. I also want to talk about the Montana Mile. This is a very cool event that helps open up the Big Sky State Games. That starts Friday in Billings. The Montana Mile is exactly what they say. It's a mile run by Montanans, but the cool part about this is you just have to have a tie to Montana. You can either be from Montana or have competed either in high school or college in Montana, and you can come back for this. So the field is so diverse. Like you have runners that have been doing this for a decade that are maybe in their 20s or even early 30s. And you also have some of the top high school runners in the state of Montana as well. A couple of the gals, like Addison Kegel, Karis Brightwings Pease, they've been competing in the Montana Mile since they were in middle school. I mean, Addison Kegel's only a sophomore in high school, and she's going to be a sophomore in high school. So this is already her 3rd Montana Mile. That's the type of runner that she is already. So we'll go through that because I think that's a really cool deal, sort of just a blending of distance runners from around a state that is very well known for its distance running, certainly. And that's all here just in hour number 1. I mentioned it, but the Stats Perform FCS All-American list dropped today, headlined by 8 Montana State Bobcats. That's the most of any team in the country. Not a surprise, Montana State is the defending champions. They have certainly several of the most brand name, household, reputable players in the football championship subdivision returning. But the Grizz also have some, and the Big Sky has plenty. The Big Sky had 28 preseason All-Americans. That is roughly about a quarter of the players on the team. There was 101 players on the team, so let's say like 27 to 30%. I'm just doing the math real quick in my head. So between 1/4 and 1/3 of the players on that All-American list come from the Big Sky Conference. 8 from Montana State, 3 from Montana. And then a smattering of players from other schools as well. UC Davis was well represented. Idaho had a few guys on there as well. Cal Poly did too. So we'll go through all of those choices. And we'll also give you at least a brief touch on our All Big Sky selections. So even though I have affiliation with 2 different media outlets that cover the Big Sky Conference, those are basically blended into one. So I don't waste the conference people's office's time. We just submit one vote. We have a couple other contributors that also get votes as well. But so I shouldn't say our. This is my poll. This is what I'm voting for All Big Sky. So we'll go through that top of the 5 o'clock hour. And we're also going to share a couple of our induction speeches from the Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame from a couple weeks back. I thought the 2 guys I learned the most about during this cycle was Tim Rosenbach, who I knew had ties to Missoula loosely, but I had known Coach Rosenbach from when he coached for the Grizz, but I had no idea his prestige as a player. He was an outstanding player. I mean, he was a semifinalist for the Heisman Trophy. He was a top draft pick. He was the starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. So he had a great NFL career that then was cut abruptly short by injury. I did not know much about that. I knew about Tim Rosenbach's coaching career, but not about his quarterbacking career until this round of the Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame. So that was very fun to get to know him a little bit better. And also, I thought his induction speech was great. We're also going to hear from Rick Ogle. I knew about Rick Ogle because of his quest later in life to get the Montana State Quarterback Club off the ground. He was one of the guys that spearheaded that back in the early 2000s. They famously and infamously pulled Mike Kramer from Eastern Washington to be the head coach at Montana State. And the Quarterback Club has done great things over the last 25 years at Montana State. Rick Ogle had a huge hand in that, but he also, before that, was a great football player. He played at Bozeman High and then played at Colorado University, played for the Buffs. Then he went on to play in the NFL. I thought his speech was very interesting as well. He had a very unlikely but very impactful friendship with Dan Deerdorf, who was the great offensive lineman for the Cardinals, who then went on to have a very prominent broadcasting career as well. So we'll hear from both Tim Rosenbaugh and Rick Ogle. These are their acceptance speeches from the Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame from a couple weekends ago. So excited to share those with you as well. So a fun show coming up here on this Monday. If you'd like to be a part of it, you always can. 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Call it, text it. Let us know what you want us to talk about. 406-888-1029. And if you want to stream it, you always can, 1029ESPN.com. You can also find us on the ESPN MT app. And you can also find us streaming on Facebook as well. It was very cool to see Tommy. First of all, it's cool just to catch up with Tommy Mellott on Friday at Coach Marty's camp and then at the party afterwards. Very fun watching Tommy work with the kids. It was also great watching Marty Morneweg and his two sons, Skylar and Bobby Cade, work with the kids as well. It was a well-attended camp. 16 of the top high school quarterbacks from around the state were there. I thought there was some really good talent. I got to see about half a dozen of the guys that are going to be starting quarterbacks next year, mostly from the AA level. Butte High's quarterback was there. Ari Gray, the head coach for Butte High, was there as well. Just taking it all in. Also saw the future starting quarterbacks for Helena High, Helena Capital, Big Sky, Hellgate, and Sentinel. I thought all those guys looked good. So it was fun evaluating the young quarterbacks. Eli Casper from Missoula, Big Sky Future Grizz. It was fun watching him. I think he's very talented. But it was also just fun watching, of course, my friend and colleague Marty Morneweg for watching him coach, and then also watching him get to experience that with his sons as well. I'm not sure what Tommy Mellott's football future holds, but if he wanted it to hold some role in coaching, that certainly would be a great path for him. I think there's no doubt about it. He also famously was an academic All-American and a finalist for the Walter Campbell Trophy because of his academic pursuits. Earned his degree in financial engineering. So the guy has a lot of options. For those that haven't been following along, we followed with Tommy Mellott from Butte and Billings product Junior Bergen pretty extensively after those guys got drafted. We went and watched a preseason game between the Raiders and the San Francisco 49ers, who Junior Bergen plays for. The Raiders obviously drafted Mellott in the 6th round. Bergen got picked by San Fran in the 7th round. We went down to Las Vegas to cover a preseason game between those two teams. Got a chance to see those guys and interview them, and that was a highlight, certainly, of last calendar year for sure. But then Mellott got cut by the Raiders. He signed to the practice squad with the New Orleans Saints, but then during his physical, they found that he had suffered, I'm not sure what the specifics of the injury is, but he had to have surgery on each one of his hips. So he has not been with a team or participating in really much any sort of football-related activities here in recent months. And I don't know what he talked about his injury. It was I was standing with him for a little while, and he talked to a bunch of people at this party that were all asking him how he was doing. And so he explained his injury multiple times. So that was tough just because, it sucks to have an injury like that sort of derails your pursuit of a dream when you're a young guy. If he gets back healthy, I think his NFL dreams still probably are alive, but he's also going to have a choice to make because Dave Dickinson, the head coach of the Calgary Stampeders, has his rights in the CFL. So I think one of the big challenges for Tommy Mellott, and he talked about this to the quarterback campers as well as to the people that we were hanging out with afterwards, that certainly he wants to get back healthy, but he did not really indicate which way he's going to pursue. So I'm not sure what his football future holds, but it was very good to see him, and glad to know he's doing well. And it was also just fun watching him work with the kids. Here's the deal. Marty Morneweg has had some very prestigious guests come to his camp as the guest coach. Everybody from Michael Vick to Jeff Garcia to Joe Flacco to Steve Mariucci, Matt Castle. Matt Castle, to people of my age, that's a big deal. He's a starting quarterback at USC, and he's a starting quarterback for the Houston Texans, right? I mean, Jeff Garcia was a multiple-time Pro Bowler. I mean, Michael Vick is one of the most iconic athletes of his generation. But that's of the last generation. That's of people my age that are, getting close to 40, or maybe guys that are even older up into, being 50. I mean, Michael Vick was a senior in college, a freshman in college, freshman phenom in college 27 years ago. So this has been a little while, right? So what I'm saying is, for me, when Marty Mornhinweg has guest coaches that, played in the NFL when I was a kid, that's a huge thrill. Like, it was so fun hanging out with Matt Castle, after Marty's camp a couple years ago. So fun picking his brain and just listening to his stories, right? Steve Mariucci, thrill, right? A thrill to meet Mooch. But for 17 and 18-year-old kids, I'm sure they know it's cool. That guy is in the NFL or was in the NFL or whatever. But I think for them, it's pretty cool to see Tommy Mellott. I mean, that's a guy that's from Montana. Doesn't matter if you're a Cat or a Grizz. I mean, he's the first guy in a generation from Montana to be a multi-year starter at quarterback for either of the Montana schools. He leads Montana State to the brink, wins multiple Big Sky championships, wins the Walter Payton Award, and he's an NFL draft pick. He went to Marty's camp, so that's pretty cool that once upon a time he was a high school kid that made it all the way to the big show. And then for him to pass that along and influence those kids, that's pretty awesome. So I thought that was it was cool catching up, cool watching Tommy, and I appreciate it for helping out for sure. Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app coming to you from the Grizzly Disposal Studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. I spent the weekend in Great Falls. I hadn't been to the Electric City in a little while, but and it was hotter than you could believe up there. I know it's hot all across the state, but it was 102 degrees at wedding time. So that was a challenge, certainly. Like, what do you wear to a wedding when it's going to be 102? It doesn't matter if you wear shorts or pants. You're going to be sweating anyways. So, but it was fun being up there in Great Falls. Congratulations to Ryan Bagley and his new bride, Katie. Ryan played for the Grizz 2003 to 2007. Was one of my good friends ever since our high school days, and it was an awesome time up there. Just because of my age group and because of the guys that I was friends with. I mean, Bagley was one of the conduits to me becoming buddies with a lot of the guys I was friends with in college. Bags and I got to be friends when we were in high school, and then I kept. He's a grade older than me, but I was always going and hanging out with him down on campus when he was living in the dorms, and that's how I got to know a lot of the guys, including several guys that became my roommates later on. Guys like Cole Brickwitz and Mike Farrer. Bagley was sort of the connector between those guys. So it was fun seeing some of the dudes that were at the wedding. Caught up with Levi Horn a little bit. He's a former All-American offensive lineman for the Grizz. And he's doing great things. He's living back in Spokane. He played in the NFL for 3 years, but now he's a mental health counselor, addiction counselor, and a motivational speaker. So that's really cool. I know that talking about the game, talking about some of his struggles, both in his personal and professional lives, and in some of his health struggles, has been something that's turned into a big positive in his life, and I think he's helping people, and that's really cool. So it was good to see him. Good to know he was doing well. Had the great pleasure of sitting next to my old friend Colin Dow, who was building senior product and a great player for the Grizz, All-American offensive lineman on those mid-2000s teams. I had a cup of coffee in the NFL. He was solo dadding it. He had his two daughters in tow, and they're just the cutest little girls. And his wife had a work obligation, so she couldn't make it. But he has been living in Boise, doing great things in the medical device sales world. But now he's back in Montana, so it's fun catching up with him for sure. I hadn't seen Craig Chambers in a long time. Chambers was an awesome receiver for the Grizz. Was one of Bagley's roommates in college, and it was good catching up with Craig. He's still out in Western Washington. He's an entrepreneur. He's got a lot of stuff going on, but he's doing well. Jordan Tripp, you already know what's going on with him. He comes on this show. He comes on our ESPN College Game Day. He comes on a variety of different contributing factors for what we got going on here. He's a Missoula guy. I've known him since he was a kid, and it's always been fun. Anytime we could catch up with this last season, now that he's the color commentator for Scripps Sports, I thought that was first of all, he did a heck of a job, and it was just cool to see and hear him use all of his insight and break down I think the game at a really, really high level. And So I actually didn't spend that much time hanging out with him because I know I'm going to hang out with him a whole bunch this upcoming season, right? We'll be talking once a week for sure. You'll be able to hear that here on Nuanez Now, as well as on our ESPN College Game Day show on Saturdays as well. And so I didn't actually hang out with Jordy very much, but he was there, and it was fun seeing him just for a brief moment for sure. And then I got to see my other good friend, Jack McGillis, who's been one of my buddies since we were kids. Jack grew up in Missoula, went to Hellgate, then went to Oregon State, and then played hoops at Montana. And he himself is also a very successful entrepreneur and businessman as well. So, I think once you get to a certain age, you start to really, really appreciate things like that, right? I didn't get married until I was in my middle age. Same thing with a couple of my other buddies. But you get together with these old friends, and you realize, first of all, how much time has passed. Second of all, how the essence of people does not change that much. Their heart is still the same, even if their life priorities are a little bit different. But it was also just really cool to see how well everybody was doing. It's proud of all of my friends, and it was really cool just to see that those guys are all accomplishing great things. And I mean, we're all in different stages of our lives now, right? Most of us have little kids, living the dad life. So even if you get to see each other once a year, that's a pretty good deal. I haven't seen a lot of those guys in several years. I see Dow a lot because he lives in Boise, and he had lived in Boise. Always comes to the Big Sky tournament. But I hadn't talked to Horn for 10 plus years. I hadn't talked to Chambers forever. Jordy and Jack are in Missoula, so I see those guys more often, but certainly I'm proud of all those guys. And it wasn't just ex-Grizz athletes that were there. There's a whole bunch of other people that were also doing very well in their lives as well. I still a lot of times people, especially from around Missoula or that follow Grizz sports, they like to know what these guys are up to. They like to know what these guys got going on. And I think the fact that all these guys are doing well as fathers and husbands and contributing positive members of their community, I think that's great. That's something to be proud of. That college sports and sports in general, they craft you at such a young age, and they instill all these great. That's what makes it important, right? Like the result of the game is not as important as the lessons you learn from the game, regardless if you win or lose. And I mean the game by any of the games that involve competitive sports. And I think that's the lesson that all those guys would say is that the playing for the Grizz, all of those guys I just mentioned played for Bobby Houck. Jordan Tripp played for Robin Pflugrad and Mick Delaney as well. Obviously, McGillis played basketball, but he played for Wayne Tinkle after he transferred from Oregon State. I think those guys would all tell you that the trials and tribulations and the triumphs of their college sports careers set the stages for their lives and had a big influence on them being successful people. So I just like to give people the update because I really do think it does matter. I think the proving ground for young men, especially college football, is important, and I think it really propels young men into their future for sure. Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio. I wanted to get a little reflective, even though I just did. But we're going to take an early break, and we'll come back. We'll do that, and we'll also talk some World Cup as well. Hope you have a great start to your week. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Around here, we see a lot of people head out. No matter where they're going, we just make sure they're ready. Before you hit the road, get a pre-trip safety check at Les Schwab Tires. It's free. Plus, this May, save up to $200 on select sets of 4 tires.
If we can't guarantee it, we won't sell it.
At Shields, we're anglers, endlessly seeking and refining techniques. We're hunters and storytellers because we've been out there. We're experts that put products and gear to the test so we can share that knowledge with you. At Shields, we understand your outdoor journey and the path you're on because we walk it too, every step of the way. Shields, right there with you.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
rare moments in life, they're not just few and far between. They're meant to be treasured.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
Missoula Sports Center.
The field for the Montana Mile, a highlight of the 41st annual Big Sky State Games opening ceremonies on Friday, was announced, courtesy of a BSSG press release last week. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. The 2026 Montana Mile marks the 35th race for the men and the 27th race for the women. The race is an invitational race featuring some of the state's fastest high school, college, and post-collegiate milers. Last year at Lockwood High School, Sage Brooks, a Missoula Hellgate graduate and an Oregon State senior-to-be, claimed her second Montana Mile championship, while Jackson Wilson won his first Montana Mile. Brooks recorded a time of 4 minutes 55.65 seconds that added to her 2020 title. Wilson, who is from Box Elder, South Dakota, and won an NAIA national championship in cross country for Rocky Mountain College in 2023, won last year's Montana Mile on the men's side in 4 minutes 12 seconds and change. Other competitors to watch in the women's race includes a pair of the top high school distance runners in the state of Montana. Addison Kegel was the Montana Gatorade Runner of the Year in cross country as a freshman at Billings Central. She will compete in her third Montana Mile. Other competitors in the men's mile race includes Owen Smith, a six-time Montana Mile competitor who is from Billings and ran collegiately at Montana State. Smith was an All-American at MSU and recently set the record at the Missoula Half Marathon in June.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Canyon River Golf Club. This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
If you're into documentaries and you are fortunate enough to have an HBO subscription, do yourself a favor and go watch the Music Box documentary. Music Box is a documentary series. Bill Simmons is the executive producer. Bill Simmons created 30 for 30 as well and is one of the most prominent podcasters in America. But Music Box, I think they've done probably probably 10 or 15 of them so far. It's only been around for a couple years. But they do documentaries about certain phenomenons or key figures in music history. The one about Yacht Rock is one of the funniest and most well-done documentaries I've ever seen, including the final lines, which I won't give you the spoiler, but the final lines of the doc are among the funniest I've ever seen in a documentary. We talk Yacht Rock because that's a little Christopher Cross. Good choice, Hayden, on the way back. It's hilarious. It's such like a corny and almost ironic, but also just straight fire song all at the same time. That's like been one of my songs of the summer. If you're like, Colter, why are you listening to songs from 46 years ago? Well, when you have a young child, you know that the development of the young mind is so fascinating to watch. And just the stuff that they learn every day and the stuff that they're coming up with day in and day out is just amazing. But my son is obsessed. He's 2.5, if you haven't been following along. He's obsessed with Toy Story. And I can't remember which Toy Story movie, but one of the Toy Stories, Woody says to his horse Bullseye, "Ride like the wind, Bullseye." So my son, when he's playing, he has a little Bullseye horse toy at our house. So when he's playing with it, he'll make Bullseye run, and he'll say, "Run like the wind, ride like the wind, Bullseye." So then I thought, okay, I should play him the song "Ride Like the Wind" by Christopher Cross. He loves it. It's so hilarious. So we got a little yacht rock fan. I've been exposing him to all sorts of music, both new and old. But certainly I think that yacht rock is right up there because definitely "Ride Like the Wind" is certainly one of his favorite songs. He loves Doobie Brothers. What a Fool Believes. I've played for him several times. He really likes that one as well. So pretty funny. But he's also into a whole bunch of other stuff too. David Bowie, one of his favorites. You can always tell because if I play him something and he doesn't like it, he just screams to put on his Toy Story music. But if he does like it, he sits there and nods his head. Absolutely hilarious. So thank you, Hayden. One of my songs of the summer, and it gives me a good excuse to tell that story. Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Got golf on the brain because, first of all, the British Open starts on Thursday. That is the final major of the summer on the PGA Tour. I said this before on the show, but I actually don't like that. I liked when the PGA Championship was in August. Because then I don't know, it just seemed like Masters in April. I know they wanted to get one in May because they wanted to have like a market share for sporting world, and it's just going to get better television viewings probably in May than it will in July. But I liked it when it was in July or August, the last major. I know the PGA Championship's not ever been the most prestigious or difficult of the majors. But I still just liked the sort of the rhythm of Masters in April, U.S. Open in June, British Open in mid-July, and then the PGA Championship in August. But I'm just one guy. But the British Open starts at Royal Birkendale on Thursday. That's in England. So that should be fun. And certainly England will be an epicenter this week because you got that tournament starting on Thursday. But before that, the English men's national team plays as one of the final four in the World Cup. So plenty of stuff for England to root on here for sure. Plenty of stuff for all of us to watch. So got golf on the brain for that reason, but also I got golf on the brain because the sort of height of summer / end of summer event that I do every year with my great friend Nick Tabor, the Missoula Country Club member guest tournament. I am the guest. Nick has been kind enough to invite me. I think we're like 7 years running now. So I usually take 2 days off. And then usually the last several years we've dove right into football season. I've literally had the tournament until Saturday and leave on Sunday morning to go to the Big Sky Kickoff Media Days. But this year I get a little reprieve. Big Sky Media Days is not till next weekend. So just play member guests and then enjoy a Sunday, and then boom, we're into football season. We're off and running. So I've been thinking about golf a lot. I've been playing a lot, trying to get it locked in. And at the end of the day, it's just like, this is like the minuscule amount of pressure compared to what you're doing in tournaments. But it is still tournament play. So at the end of the day, you just got to step up, right? You just got to go perform when you need to. If you've still been playing clubs that don't fit your swing, you're leaving shots on the course. Last Best Golf Company specializes in professional club fitting and custom-built golf clubs designed specifically for you. Whether you're looking for more distance, tighter dispersion, or greater consistency, our fitting process helps you get the most out of every swing. From drivers to putters, every club is built to your exact specs with precision and care. Stop guessing, start playing your best golf. Visit Last Best Golf Co. today at 517 South Orange Street and experience the difference a proper fit can make. Come back to a little golf, but I was getting a little nostalgic because I was just looking through some old show outlines on my Google Docs. I just basically typed in 7-13 and saw what shows still existed on there. So I looked at July 13th, 2021 first. That day, we were talking about Camp Marty, which was fun. I already went over that in segment number 1. So some of the best high school quarterbacks in the state of Montana were there. Marty Morneweg was coaching along with his two sons, Sky and Bobby Cade, as well as Tommy Mlott, former Walter Payton Award winner out of Montana State. So it was fun watching that last Friday, certainly. But Marty's been coming on the radio to promote that stuff, but also to contribute on an NFL front for quite a little while now, like 5 years. But he always comes on at least once in the summer, and we talk all things football to help preview his camp. So that was the July 13th, then 2021. His camp was coming right around the corner, so that was certainly fun to remember back on. We're also talking about Shohei Ohtani because it's the All-Star break this week for baseball. We'll have plenty of baseball conversation tomorrow and on Thursday during Diamond Time. But the All-Star break is upon us. The Home Run Derby is tonight, and then the All-Star game is tomorrow. But we were talking about Shohei Ohtani back then. Well, he's been the talking point of Major League Baseball since then. He is a lead segment and one of the most intriguing stories in baseball for 5 years running now. He's arguably one of the biggest stars in the world in any sport. He has won 4 out of the last 5 MVPs. We were talking about him as a potential MVP candidate for his first MVP back in 2021. Well, since then, he's won 4 out of the last 5. He's been doing stuff that nobody since Babe Ruth basically has been able to do. That's pretty crazy. But that day, July 13th, 2021, our lead, I had totally forgotten that this had even happened, was about Mike Van Diest, the heralded and legendary coach from Carroll College, going to Montana State Northern. At that point, Mike Van Diest had retired as the head coach of Carroll College with his 6 national championships and probably 1 million conference championships in tow. I'd actually have to look it up, but Van Diest was unreal at Carroll. I mean, again, 6 natties. So the conference championships, probably multiple times that many. I'd have to look it up so I don't want to give you a false number. But Van Diest is one of the most successful coaches in any sport in the history of the state of Montana. He had retired as the head coach of Carroll College. Then Jerome Sowers got the Montana State Northern job up in Havre, and Van Diest went up there as his defensive coordinator. That was a wild deal. I mean, that is, first of all, that's an impressive hire to get a former Frontier Conference Coach of the Year to go be a DC up at Montana State Northern. But also, it's just sort of crazy that that's the way Mike Van Diest's career ended. He then subsequently retired after a couple years up there in Havre and has not coached since. But given the fact that Van Diest coached at Montana in the early 80s and then had all that success at Carroll, it almost seemed like he was destined to be the head coach for the Grizz or the Cats at some point. But that never happened. And it's interesting that it didn't, right? Like, if you would have gone back to, the early 2000s, you would have said, who's going to be a head coach for the Grizz? Mike Van Diest or Mick Delaney? I think that Van Diest probably would have been the slam dunk answer. But then, of course, it was Delaney that guided the Grizz for 3 years following the dismissal of Robin Pflugrad. But I was just thinking today, I mean, Van Diest, his career within itself speaks for itself. And I actually don't know if it's just a little surprising he never coached the Cats or the Grizz, but I'm not saying it's good or bad. Who knows? Maybe he comes. Maybe he comes to one of those 2 schools and doesn't have quite the success that he did at Carroll between 1999 and 2018. He went 203-54 in his career at Carroll College. 14 conference championships during his illustrious career, and the 6 national championships. He was 4-time National Coach of the Year, multiple-time Frontier Conference Coach of the Year. So, again, I don't know if it's good or bad. Probably neither, that he never got a shot to be the head coach at either of the 2 Montana D1 schools. But, again, 203-54 is a record that stands alone in terms of the prolific nature of the winning that Van Diest did during his time at Carroll College. So that was just a crazy news brief to reflect back on. Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio. What were we talking about in 2022? There's another outline I found, July 13th, 2022. We're talking about the British Open, which that will always be a big talking point this time of year. Because the British Open takes center stage as much as any championship, simply because of the timing of it, right? Well, and also because of how difficult it is, the influence that weather has on it, the influence that just being overseas, being in the UK most of the time, that's always an interesting draw. I mean, if you go through the greatest golfers of all time, the vast majority of them are from either America or Great Britain. the UK, the United Kingdom, I should say. So that's always been a draw as well. You know, there's always Ryder Cup connotations and ties to the British Open as well. So that's always going to take center stage here. I'm looking up who won the British Open in 2022 because we were certainly previewing it. Cam Smith won it in 2022. Cam Young took second. So the last champions have been Colin Morikawa in 2021, Cam Smith in 2022, Brian Harman in 2023, Xander Schauffele in 2024, Scotty Scheffler last year at Port Roche, and then this year at Royal Brookdale. We'll see. We'll give you a little British Open odds a little later on in the week, too. But July 13th, 2022, we were also talking fantasy football. We also had Matt Brown on the show. Matt Brown's been contributing for a little while here. He usually comes on like quarterly, like 3 or 4 times a year. He is the creator and curator of the Extra Points newsletter, which does a great job of covering college athletics from like an internal perspective. And I was thinking about our conversation that we had back in 2022. It's really interesting to me how college football and college athletics have changed so much and so rapidly over the last handful of years. Yet our conversations around them have actually not changed that much. In 2022, we were talking about what do we think is going to happen. Now we talk about what the heck is happening. But the conversations that I've had with guys like Matt Brown and Justin Angle from the University of Montana Business School, to a certain extent Andrew Schmidt, when he comes on, talks big picture stuff and conference realignment stuff with us as well. So often we're talking about what the heck is going on. We're analyzing the state of college athletics and the influence that things like the House settlement and name, image, and likeness and conference realignment and the Power Four's stranglehold on specifically college football and men's basketball, and all these different factors that have gone into what has been a dizzying and almost overwhelming sort of rebirth of, I don't even know if it's a rebirth, brand change of college sports. And although it has been so much change, we've been talking about this topic for so long, which is pretty crazy to think about. What were we talking about in 2023? We had Alyssa Keller on the show. She was the Montana Gatorade Athlete of the Year that year in women's track and field. She was a Billings West champion, all-class record holder in the javelin, and won 2 state championships at the at Billings West High School. She is now at BYU. She's done phenomenally well. 2024, she was second place in the javelin in the Big 12, so that's pretty impressive. Her throw, that was in the indoor season. Then during outdoor that same year, her throw of 170 feet 1 inch was the 5th best throw in BYU outdoor history. So she's been doing very well there. I don't know what happened in 2025. Her bio didn't have any updates from then, but you wonder if maybe she was hurt or maybe she redshirted, because the redshirt process in track is definitely interesting. You can take one. You have 2 redshirts if you're an athlete like Alyssa Keller. You can take one during indoor season and one during outdoor season. You can stagger those. So I wonder if that's the case. We also talked about Sage Brooks back in July 13th, 2023. Brooks at that time, she had been a former state champion at Missoula Hellgate, and then she went to Syracuse. She spent 1 year there on the East Coast, but then she transferred back to the West Coast to go to Oregon State. Well, now here we are, and she's a 5th-year senior at Oregon State. So she's had a great career there in Corvallis, and she's in the news now, as you just heard on the Sports Center, if you've been listening since then, because she is running in the Montana Mile on Friday night to open the Big Sky State games. So Brooks has made Missoula Hellgate certainly very proud, and she's competing at a very high level there at Oregon State, and she's won the Montana Mile twice. She won it in 2020 when she was just fresh out of high school, and she won it last year as well. She is the defending champion. So Sage Brooks certainly making Missoula proud out there on the distance running circuit, whether it's at Oregon State or this Friday in Billings at the Montana Mile. Speaking of runners, we also talked Duncan Hamilton that day. Hamilton was in the midst of competing on the national stage in track and field. He went pro after that, and it's actually sort of crazy to me. It shows you how rigorous the 3,000-meter steeplechase can be, because Hamilton had one of the top times in the world his senior year at Montana State. He was a national championship contender. He was a first-team All-American placer multiple years in a row. He's been pro now for 3 years. His best time remains the 8-minute 13-second and change time that he ran that senior year of college, at Montana State. So it's just interesting because I thought Duncan Hamilton, he's a pro track athlete. And so it's hard to say he's anything but world class. He is. He's professionally makes a living running track and field. But if you would have told me that he was on that trajectory, and right now he's the number 42 ranked person in the steeplechase in the world. That's amazing to be in the top 50. I would have thought he would have been in the top 10. So I don't know what that's a product of. He still is very competitive, and again, he's making money to run and compete at a super high level. Like, for example, he ran 8 minutes and 13 seconds in 2023. His best time this year is in the 8:20s. So he's 7 to 10 seconds off of where he once was. So just interesting to look back on the stuff we were talking about this time of year. Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio. I still want to talk some World Cup. I also want to continue to talk distance running as well. So we'll do all that on the other side. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller & Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller & Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
Around here, we see a lot of people head out. No matter where they're going, we just make sure they're ready. Before you hit the road, get a pre-trip safety check at Les Schwab Tires. It's free. Plus, this May, save up to $200 on select sets of 4 tires.
If we can't guarantee it, we won't sell it.
Life's about the journey, not the destination, right? Why can't it be about both?
Jewelry Design Center. We want to be your jeweler for life.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
I always get such a strange feeling. Like when I talked about this at the beginning of the show, but when the stats perform, FCS All-American list drops. You can feel it. You can feel Judgment Day coming, right? Football is right around the corner. And I say it's such an interesting feeling because, obviously, I love football. I'm obsessed with football. My wife makes fun of me. I'm completely addicted to football. I watch football all the time. I've made it my entire life. I literally have a career that's crafted around watching and talking about football. You might think, wow, that sounds like the greatest job ever. It absolutely is. There's no doubt about it. It just is really busy during football season. And sometimes I lose track of the time to be able to, take care of everything in my life. So I can't wait for football to be here. And I also hate wishing time away. So football, the Grizz kick in 48 days. I cannot wait for those 48 days to be over so I can be at Washington Grizzly Stadium covering Montana versus Southern Utah under the Washington Grizzly Stadium lights. I also am completely dreading those 48 days just evaporating because, as we know, summer in Montana, it's just fleeting, right? It's the 4th of July, and then all of a sudden you turn around and you got a couple weekends left. And then all of a sudden, it's time to go back to school. It's time to go back to the football stadiums. And again, I love it. But I also feel like, wow, we're just running out of time. We got to enjoy the summer as much as we possibly can. So when Hayden plays September by Earth, Wind, and Fire, I'm thinking about September and how great it's going to be, how much I can't wait to watch football and watch the NFL, and also how I just can't believe how fast summer goes. And so that's all to say. I hope you are having a great summer. Here's the thing. My summer has been filled with so many different events these first 6 weeks here, since the calendar turned to June, which has been great. And I've had a great time, whether it's been the E.B. Craney Awards or the Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame. I had a wedding this weekend, had a funeral, another one of the weekends. And then the only weekend that was not one of those events was the 4th of July. So it's been jam-packed for me. But one of the things that has made it summer doesn't quite feel real to me yet, because I haven't gone to the Kettle House Amphitheater yet, which is crazy. You know me, if you follow the show, I'm a big music guy, I'm a big concert guy. And I haven't gone out to the Amp yet this year. So we do have tickets. It's just that the shows that we're going to, we're going to Mount Joy at the Amp. I can't wait for that, but that's not till late August. We're going to Red Clay Strays at the Adams Center, but that's also not until August. I'm going to Bonnie Raitt with my mom, but that's not till early September. So, I got my fair share of concerts coming up. I just haven't gone to any yet, and that's just the way that the calendars work. So I'm just trying to soak it in. Again, if you haven't been following along, we are on the air here Monday through Wednesday, and then off Thursday, Friday. But then we're into the full swing. I'll be here for 5 days a week moving forward. There might be a couple other days where we miss here and there, but mostly we're rolling, and it's football time. So that is certainly where we're at. But Hayden playing September made me realize, holy cow, it's almost September, even though it's still the middle of the July. So hopefully you're soaking up the summer as well. Nuanez Now watching on ESPN Radio. The World Cup continues tomorrow. These two matches, one's on Tuesday, one's on Wednesday. They're at 1 p.m. So, I don't know if I love that. We're all going to be working, but I know here at ESPN, we're certainly going to have it on somewhere in the world so we can keep track of what's going on a little bit. So, but, I don't necessarily know if I love it. You wonder if the United States was still in the World Cup, if they would have flexed those to different times. But c'est la vie, it still should be great competition. And the 4 best teams in the world are still leading the day. France, who has won multiple World Cups, they are the number 1 team in the draw, and they're the number 1 team in the world. And they look like a juggernaut right now. They take on Spain, who's the number 3 ranked team in the world. That's at 1 p.m. on Tuesday. And then Argentina, who's the number 2 ranked team in the world and the defending World Cup champions, they take on England at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. Who are you going for? 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Who are you going for in the 2 World Cup semifinals matchups? France versus Spain tomorrow and Argentina versus England on Wednesday. Let us know. 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Let us know who you're going for in the World Cup. England has not been in the World Cup final since 1966. That was very surprising to me. England's been very, very good. But then I started looking through the history of the World Cup. it's been dominated pretty thoroughly by like 8 countries. There's only been 8 countries that have ever won the World Cup. There's only ever been 13 countries on the entire earth that have even been to the final. The countries that have never been to the final, or that have been to the final and never won it, includes the Netherlands, who have 3 World Cup championship game losses, Hungary and Czechoslovakia, who each have 2, and Sweden and Croatia, who each have 1. The other World Cup champions include Brazil, winning 5 times. Germany has won 4 World Cups and been to 8 finals. Brazil's been to the finals twice, by the way, when they didn't win it. So 7 finals for Brazil. Germany has the record for finals with 8. They've won 4. Italy has been to 6 finals, and they've won 4. Argentina has been to 6 finals, and they've won 3. So, Brazil, Germany, Italy, and Argentina have thoroughly dominated this, the international landscape of World Cup soccer. And Argentina remains alive, so they might be able to stack, to that list for sure. The other part that's been so cool about this to me is that, by the way, if you're wondering, the France has won twice, and they've played in 4 World Cup finals. Uruguay has won twice. They won in 1930 and 1950. They've never lost in one. England has only been to the championship match once, but they won it in 1966. And this was actually surprising to me, too. Spain has only been to the championship game once, and they won it in 2010 as well. So Spain and England with 1, Uruguay and France with 2, Argentina 3, Italy 4, Germany 4, and Brazil with 5. But the other cool part about this, to me, is that the best players in the world are the guys that are leading these teams. I mean, Lionel Messi and Argentina, Kylian Mbappe and France, Harry Kane and England, Erling Haaland and Norway. Erling Haaland and Norway lost to England. They were up 1-0, but then the English rallied, so that was a crazy quarterfinal game. Achraf Hakimi from Morocco was in the final 8 as well. Michael Olise from France, Jude Bellingham from England, Vinicius Jr. from Brazil, and then on down the line. I'm not going to sit here and just list off my list of names, but I mean, you get the point that I'm getting at here, right? I mean, I'm looking at the athletics rankings of the top 25 soccer players, and I'm just giving you the ones that I specifically know. But you're going down the line here, and you got France, England, Brazil, Spain, France, Morocco, France, Portugal, Spain, Mexico, Belgium. I mean, these are all teams that are in the final 8. England, Spain, Brazil. I mean, so all of the best players in the world are on these international teams. And I think it shows you just how far, I mean, it shows you the prestige and prominence of these countries and why they're so good. And I think it also shows you just how far the United States is away. I mean, Balogun, the controversial striker who came back for the round of 16 game for the United States men's national team against Belgium, he's the highest ranked United States player, and he's 26th on this list. So, I mean, you're talking like almost double-digit players for Spain and France before you even get to the first American. So that's been very cool, though, to see, especially the likes of Messi and Mbappe and Kane. Those guys, they're just unbelievable. It's unbelievable athleticism. I actually can't believe how much I've gotten into this. I've been just absolutely loving it. I can't wait for the matches tomorrow. And I think it's been cool. I think the fact that it's been in North America has drawn more Americans in to watch it. And I think the product has absolutely lived up to it. I mean, I have been thoroughly just gripped by all of the matches that I've watched. I've watched some of the best ones too, right? I mean, England, Mexico in Mexico City was like all time. That was epic. Switzerland, Colombia was amazing. Went to a shootout. This last England Norway game was unbelievable. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones I've not watched. Cape Verde, Argentina. What an unbelievable rally by the Argentinians. The Argentines, actually, I listened to a podcast with some real football World Cup aficionados and Argentines, not Argentinians. So I had to correct that in my own lexicon and make sure to get that one right. But we'll have plenty of coverage for you of the World Cup for both Tuesday and Wednesday. But one last time, France versus Spain at 1 p.m. Tuesday and Argentina versus England 1 p.m. on Wednesday. Nuanez Now tonight on ESPN Radio. We'll get to the Montana Mile either today in hour number 2 or on either tomorrow or Wednesday. Again, no show Thursday or Friday, but we'll be back at it for a full week next week and moving forward. But for now, hour 1 in the books, hour 2 coming your way. We'll talk some all Big Sky preseason teams. We'll talk some Montana Mile. And we'll also talk some Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's all next. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Jewelry Design Center. We want to be your jeweler for life.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
In honor of our Green Nation's 250th anniversary, Mattress Firm is having its biggest 4th of July sale ever. The entire lineup of top-rated mattress brands are on sale with prices starting at $149 up to top-of-the-line mattresses with lifetime warranties. Get the sleep you deserve with payments starting at $39 a month. Mattress Firm has pillows, sheets, adjustable bases all on sale too during their biggest 4th of July sale ever. Locally owned and nationally known Mattress Firm.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
KKVU HD3 Stevensville and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The field for the Montana Mile, a highlight of the 41st annual Big Sky State Games opening ceremonies on Friday, was announced, courtesy of a BSSG press release last week. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. The 2026 Montana Mile marks the 35th race for the men and the 27th race for the women. The race is an invitational race featuring some of the state's fastest high school, college, and post-collegiate milers. Last year at Lockwood High School, Sage Brooks, a Missoula Hellgate graduate and an Oregon State senior-to-be, claimed her second Montana Mile Mile Championship, while Jackson Wilson won his first Montana Mile. Brooks recorded a time of 4 minutes 55.65 seconds that added to her 2020 title. Wilson, who is from Box Elder, South Dakota, and won an NAIA National Championship in cross country for Rocky Mountain College in 2023, won last year's Montana Mile on the men's side in 4 minutes 12 seconds and change. Other competitors to watch in the women's includes a pair of the top high school distance runners in the state of Montana. Addison Kegel was the Montana Gatorade Runner of the Year in cross country as a freshman at Billings Central. She will compete in her third Montana Mile. Other competitors in the men's mile race includes Owen Smith, a six-time Montana Mile competitor who is from Billings and ran collegiately at Montana State. Smith was an All-American at MSU and recently set the record at the Missoula Half Marathon in June.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Canyon River Golf Club. It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Okay, Hayden, you got to remind me here. So one of my first memories here at Missoula Broadcasting Company, I started in August of 2017. So we're coming up on my 9th anniversary here. It's Nuanez Now, by the way, 102.9 ESPN Radio. If you missed anything in the first hour of the show, you can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast. But I believe it was either that summer or the following summer that Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers, it was the following summer, June 17, 2018. So I'd been at Missoula Broadcasting Company for about 9 months. And this is in the pre-Logjam Presents days. So the radio stations used to collab and have concerts from time. I mean, not even from time to time, pretty often. The Trail of Missoula Broadcasting was involved in several. I think probably more than even several shows around Missoula and Western Montana. But the last one that we were associated with was the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan at the Missoula Paddleheads Stadium. And I'd only been here for about 9 months. Everybody from our office at the time, which several people have moved on to other things, but almost everybody went to the show, and it was very, very fun. I used to live, at that exact moment in my life, I lived in an apartment that was literally 2 blocks from the Paddlehead Stadium. So, that plus the fact that I was, a decade younger and single and living with a roommate in an apartment, that was a fun night for me. We had a good time over there for sure. But Hayden, you got to remind me, did you go to this? Did you go to the Steely Dan concert? I can't remember.
I'm so mad that I didn't.
I bet you are. Yeah, that's a bummer. So Hayden has worked with us here at Missoula Broadcasting Company, probably going on about a year now. But his family's been involved with the company ever since he was a little kid, and his mom is our owner. So he's had a lot of time around here, and his brother Wyatt used to work here as well. So I couldn't remember if you were there or not. But are you a Steely Dan guy? Steely Dan's an acquired taste, but once you acquire it, you love the taste. I love Steely Dan.
Yeah, I feel like Steely Dan he has so many classic great hits. I'm kind of having fun with the yacht rock today, but he obviously expands well beyond that as well.
Well, very good. Well, appreciate it. Thanks for chiming in. We got plenty coming your way here. We're going to have some Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame discussion, as well as plenty of the induction speeches from a couple of the inductees that I didn't really know that much about. And we're going to keep on just talking football pretty much all second hour. If you missed anything in the first hour, we talked some World Cup. We talked about my weekend that was. Talked some football through the lens of Marty Mornoweg's quarterback camp. And gave you some of the thoughts on the World Cup as well. And had some reflection, too, talking about the July 13th from yesteryear. So that was certainly fun, tripping down memory lane. All of it on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. We are coming to you live from the Grizzly Disposal studio. Grizzly Disposal has one bin recycling. They can pick it up from your house a couple times a month. That's your aluminum cans, your cardboards, your plastics. Grizzly Disposal will pick it up for you. You want to add the service or make the switch or both, 406-541-7171. Jersey Disposal, the only Bears that should be in your garbage. The Stats Perform FCS All-American list, preseason All-American list, dropped today. And as I say every year, this is always just like, oh wow, football is right around the corner. It's here. So the headlining news here is just the amount of first Big Sky Conference players and second players from the state of Montana that landed on this list. I think I misquoted. I said 28 players. It was 23, but that's still 23 out of 101 is pretty dang good, and 8 out of 101 is also pretty dang good. The Big Sky had 23 selections, and Montana State leads the way among all the teams in the country with 8 selections. A whole handful, about half of these selections were first-team All-American selections. Eli Gilman from Montana at running back, Adam Jones from Montana State at running back. So 2 of the best, if not the 2 best running backs in the United States are expected to be first-team All-Americans. Samuel Batu from UC Davis, he's a senior wide receiver. Offensive lineman Titan Fleischman, who's a senior at Montana State. Offensive lineman Stryker Rashid from Idaho State, who is also a senior. Cal Poly senior linebacker Mikey D'Amato. Montana senior linebacker Peyton Wing. UC Davis senior safety Rex Connors. Montana State senior safety Caden Dowler. Montana State kicker Miles Sandstead. And Montana State all-purpose player Taco Dowler all land on the first-team list. So for those keeping track, Eli Gilman, Peyton Wing representing the Grizz, and Adam Jones, Titan Fleischman, Caden Dowler, Miles Sandstead, and Taco Dowler all representing the Montana State Bobcats. Second-team All-Americans included quarterback Kaylee Ayat from Montana and quarterback Justin Lamson from Montana State. Tight end Winston Williams of UC Davis landed on the second team as well. Jalen Jenkins of Eastern Washington, who is a junior defensive back, and Maddox Broughton of Northern Colorado, who's a sophomore long snapper, also landed on the second team. The third team preseason All-Americans, courtesy of Stats Perform, included Idaho State's Dason Brooks. He's a running back, a senior. Idaho State senior receiver Shadon James. Eastern Washington senior defensive lineman Isaiah Perez. UC Davis senior linebacker Porter Connors. Cal Poly senior linebacker Kenny Olson. Montana State junior linebacker Cole Taylor. And Montana State junior defensive back Tayden Gray. So that's your news of the day. 23 Big Sky Conference players land on the Stats Perform first-team All-American list. I guess first, second, and third-team All-American list. Preseason All-American list, as I should say. We're going to the Big Sky Kickoff in 2 weeks, 2 weekends. So we'll have a live Nuanez Now from there on, I got to get the date right here, July 27th. That's Monday, July 27th, from the Big Sky Kickoff. We'll have plenty of content out of that over the next, we'll probably get a month of content while we're there. So that's exciting. Love going to media days and making the rounds. Couldn't do it without our good friends at Cash One Pond. Cash One Pond, one of our most loyal and fun to kick it with sponsors. We'll be doing a show from Cash One Pond here in the next couple of weeks, too, for our July hit out there at the Premier Pawn Shop in Western Montana. Appreciate those guys. And if you're in the market for firearms, hunting season right around the corner, they have an extensive selection. You can check it out at their showroom on Roller Coaster Road, or you can shop online at Cash One Pond. That's cash1pond.com. So the Stats Perform list drops, and then I start thinking about the Big Sky Kickoff, and then I realize, oh my gosh, I haven't filled out my All Big Sky ballot. And then I thought, well, I'm going to fill it out right now, and let's just make it part of the show. let's just go pick for pick. So I submitted this today. I don't even know if I hit the deadline. I might have just missed it. But I talked to the guys at the Big Sky, and I said, hey, can I submit my stuff? And he said, yeah, if you just do it right now, I'm sending it to you. Fill it out right now before you do anything else. Send it back. So I did that because I thought it would be a great content piece for the show. So here we go. Here's how I voted preseason All Big Sky. Quarterback, you only got one pick. And I know this is, again, you had to pick one. I think that Kaylee Ayat and Justin Lamson are the 2 best quarterbacks in the conference. I think that they each are better than the other one in certain ways. I voted for Justin Lamson because he's he's a senior and because he is the quarterback of the defending Big Sky and national champions. Justin Lamson had arguably his best stretch of football in his career between when Montana State won in Missoula in November through the national championship game. That 5-game stretch for him was career-defining, quite frankly, and it was one of the best stretches of football I've seen a quarterback play. He led the Bobcats to wins over the Grizz twice in 28 days and a thrilling, unbelievable, unforgettable win in the national championship game. And he was the most outstanding player of that national championship game. So my nod goes to Lamson. I wish I could have voted for them both, but you can't. My running back picks, easy, Eli Gilman, Adam Jones. Those are the two. I just think there's no other conversation outside of those two. My offensive line picks, I went with 3 guys from Montana State because I think they're going to have the best offensive line, not just in the conference, but probably in the country. Titan Fleischman's a first-team All-American. Pretty hard to not vote for him. Braden Zimmer was a freshman All-American a year ago, and I think he's a potential NFL guy at the other tackle spot for the Cats. And then Burke Mastel from Red Lodge. Zimmer, by the way, is from Billings. But Mastel from Red Lodge, I think he's a very diverse player. He can play guard or center. I put him on my preseason All-Big Sky as well. Leighton Vining is a former walk-on at Idaho who has then become, I think he's a 3-year starter now. So I put him on the list. I also have Zaire Collier from UC Davis. He was an all-conference guy a year ago. And Striker Rashid from Idaho State. He's an All-American preseason. He was an All-American last year. He's a preseason All-American this year. Idaho State was very good on the offensive line last year, and he's their best guy. So that's how my offensive line shook out. Receivers was hard. You got to go with Samuel Batu of UC Davis. You got to go with Taco Dowler of Montana State. My third was Brooks Davis because I think that Davis is going to have an absolute breakout season for Montana. But I mean, Shadon James is a preseason All-American, so he's definitely a guy you could think about. And there's a lot of good receivers in the Big Sky Conference, but I went with Davis from Montana because I just think that he has, if he takes even a little bit of a step, he's an All-Conference guy. Takes a big step, he's an All-American, and he's only a sophomore. I think he's incredibly talented. Tight ends, I thought about Rocky Lencioni from Montana State. I also think the Grizz are going to be really good at tight end this year, even though they lose Evan Schaefer and Josh Gale. Both those guys were great last year. But I think that Titus Rohrer has a chance to be a breakout guy. Danny Sermon has a chance to be a breakout guy. I thought Reese Brooks, the transfer tight end from Cal Poly, looked really talented during spring ball. I think all those guys could be in the mix. I think Rocky Lencioni and Bruin Fleischman and Carter Kernow at Montana State all could be potential all-conference type guys. But none of those guys are the guy. I think both Montana schools are going to play 3 or 4 tight ends like they have for many years. So you just wonder who's going to have the production. And there's more to tight end production than just catching balls and catching touchdowns. But I do think that being like the man, being a featured tight end, you're going to just have more prolific numbers. Winston Williams is impossible to deny. He's a preseason All-American at UC Davis, second-team guy. He's 6'4", 250, prototype, looks the part all day long. So I voted for him, and I also voted for Tanner Beeman. I think Tanner Beeman is the best player at Portland State. He deserves a ton of credit for staying at Portland State. He's been an all-conference guy in the Big Sky already, but he's staying there, even with the coaching change and all the turmoil that they've experienced. He got hurt like 2 years ago now, so I think that maybe helps keep him at Portland State because he's had to get back healthy there. But I'm going with, even though I think Montana and Montana State have great tight ends, I'm going with 2 guys that are not at Montana State. My defensive line votes, Isaiah Perez of Eastern Washington, Zach Cruz of Montana State, Nikhil Webb-Walker of Northern Arizona, Sinai Tuiaki of Southern Utah, and Trent Carade of UC Davis. Those are and Jake Mason of Montana as well. I think Mason's primed for a breakout year. I think the scheme change is going to help him a bunch. I think he's a versatile guy. He can play on the inside. He can play on the outside. So you're allowed to pick 6 defensive linemen. So Isaiah Perez of Eastern Washington, Jake Mason of Montana, Zach Cruz, Montana State, Nikhil Webb-Walker of NAU, Sinai Tuiaki of Southern Utah, and Trent Carade of UC Davis are my picks. I thought that Perez, to me, was a no-brainer. He was a second-team all-conference guy last year. But Nikhil Webb-Walker at NAU and Sinai Tuiaki of Southern Utah are both transfers. Carade was good as a sophomore last year, but was far from an all-conference guy. I thought that, I don't even know if Cruz was a slam dunk, but I think that you have to at least consider him. I mean, he had half a dozen sacks last year. He's been sort of waiting his turn at Montana State. But Perez was really my only complete slam dunk guy. Mason for Montana and Cruz of Montana State, those guys that's a vote of confidence. And then two of the other guys are transfers. So I actually don't know about my defensive line picks. I think you're betting on potential a lot more than already decided production. That's the opposite for the linebackers. The linebackers was easy. Mike D'Amato of Cal Poly, he's a first-team All-American type guy. Cole Taylor at Montana State, he's an All-American type guy. Peyton Wing at Montana, first-team All-American type of guy. Those guys were all on the preseason All-American team. Those are easy votes. Kenny Olson of Cal Poly, I don't know if he's an All-American type of guy, but he was a third-team preseason All-American. And, he's been super productive. And then Porter Connors, who's Rex Connors' brother at UC Davis. Those are the five most productive and proven linebackers in the league. So I love my linebacker votes. I think probably, I would be shocked if D'Amato, Cole Taylor, and Peyton Wing weren't unanimous selections. I bet you everybody that voted in this poll, some 40 people voted for those three guys. And then I bet you a lot of them voted for Kenny Olson as well at Cal Poly. Defensive backs, I bet you Caden Dowler is a unanimous selection, and I bet you Jalen Jenkins at Eastern Washington is a unanimous selection, and I bet you Rex Connors at UC Davis is a unanimous selection. So that's half my DB picks right there. Dowler, of course, the reigning Big Sky Conference MVP, so I expect him to be the preseason MVP. Jenkins, I think, is Eastern Washington's best player. And Rex Connors, I thought, was going to be he was the preseason defensive player of the year last year. Then he got hurt, total fluke play. They put him in he's a safety. They put him in as a Wildcat quarterback on a 2-point conversion, and he tore his ACL and missed the season last year. Just crazy bad luck. I think those three guys are surefire. And then my other DB votes included Taden Gray, who's the nickelback at Montana State, Trey Turner, who had a great year last year at Weber, and Zach Wustig of Idaho was an all-conference guy a year ago as well. The special team specialists, there's only two guys nominated for place kicker, punter, kick returner, and punt returner. One of those guys for each of the nominees or each of those positions was a Montana State guy. So I just went Montana State across the board. And part of that's because I think that Miles Sandstead at place kicker, Kobe Froker at punter, Jabez Woods at kick returner, Taco Dowler at punt returner. I think Stanstead and Dowler will be basically unanimous selections. The other two, I think, will probably get the vote. I think all those guys are really good, but also it was between them and one other guy. So you go with the guys from the national champs. Brody Johnson of Montana State was the only long snapper nominated. So that's pretty weird. But he's going to be the preseason all-league long snapper, almost a guarantee. So I went with pretty much all Bobcat guys there. And then my all-purpose player was Taco Dowler, and I think it's hard to argue there as well. No, I was down 129 ESPN Radio. My preseason MVP picks on offense, Justin Lampson. And on defense, Caden Dowler. But again, this is what I've been saying since February. To the victor goes the spoils, and the Cats are going to have all the preseason accolades you could ever want or need or desire or not desire. They're the leader in the country in preseason All-American nods. They're going to be the leader in preseason All-Big Sky guys. They're going to have, for sure, I think, the defensive preseason MVP and probably the offensive MVP, unless Eli Gilman is the vote, because he is the reigning offensive MVP. But that's what I've been saying is, with all these spoils, how do you not become spoiled? When you are the predicted national champs to repeat and everybody's saying you're going to run the table and you got all the preseason All-Americans, all the accolades, how do you block that out? How do you embrace that and know how to be a front runner and the team with the target on your back? I just think it's going to be a fascinating. I think it is the dynamic for Montana State football this upcoming season. Well, it's now 129 ESPN Radio. A guy I got to know when he was the offensive coordinator for the Montana Grizzlies between 2018 and 2024, or 2023, excuse me, was Tim Rosenbaum. He was at Montana in 2012 for a brief moment in time, and he coached for Bobby Houck also at UNLV. But Rosenbaum has coached all over the place. I knew all about his coaching career, and I knew him as a coach. I knew he had been a good player, but I just didn't know how good. But through the Montana Football Hall of Fame, I learned that Tim Rosenbaum was a hell of a player. He was talked about as the guy that was going to be the second quarterback drafted behind Troy Aikman in the 1989 NFL Draft. Some off-the-field stuff held Rosenbaum out of that, but he was picked in the supplemental, drafted by his second year in the NFL. He was the starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, the Phoenix Cardinals at the time. He played every single snap that second year, and he looked like he had a bright future in the NFL. But then injuries derailed his career, and that's how he got into coaching. I knew Tim Rosenbaum was good. I just didn't know how good. And I also only sort of knew his connections to Missoula. He had grown up in Missoula. His dad, Lynn, had been a coach for the Montana Grizz on Larry Donovan's staff. Then Lynn got a job at Washington State. So Rosenbaum went to Hellgate High School for the first 2 years of high school. Then he went to Pullman High School and ended up staying in Pullman and playing at Washington State, where then he finished 7th in the Heisman Trophy voting his senior year. He was a record setter at Washington State and part of the great lineage of quarterbacks there in Pullman, whether it's, Ryan Leifitz had a maligned life and career, but he was still a Heisman Trophy finalist. Drew Bledsoe was a great quarterback at Washington State, and Tim Rosenbaum was a great quarterback at Washington State. Rosenbaum was one of our inductees in the Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame this last year, and I'd like to share his induction speech because I learned a little bit about Coach Rosie from his days when he was player Rosie. That's right now. Tim Rosenbaum, Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
Start that. Congrats on all the inductees, both past and present. It's truly an honor for me to receive this award, being included in such a great group of people. Many of the inductees and others here tonight have been childhood heroes of mine. Growing up on the sidelines at North Blazer Stadium, where my dad coached for the University of Montana Grizzlies. Rocky Cleaver, Wayne Harper, those guys, we got to hang out with them yesterday. That was awesome to be with those two guys. Rocky Cleaver and Wayne were two guys that I really looked up to as a young kid and wanted to be like, and that kind of made me really love the game. As a ball boy for the Grizz, I got to see him here along the sidelines. Communication, passion, emotion. Saturday afternoons in Missoula. I was even struck by the friendly fire of a russet potato from a student throwing it from the student section in the Idaho Vandals took the field. Those Saturdays kind of made clear to me what I was going to chase in life, and I look back on those days fondly. The last few years, I spent a lot of time driving around through the western U.S. due to my wonderful choice in profession. Sometimes you have a job, sometimes you don't. But lately I've been moving around a lot, and I've had a lot of time to reflect. When you do that, it's too much windshield time. It can be bad and good, but when Tom called me and told me I was going to receive this award, the first thing you think about is what do you say? I'm just humbled. I'm humbled by this honor. And again, thank you. The more I thought about it, you figure out what this award really means. It's not really about you. It's about the people that help shape your life and the opportunities for you as you grow up. My family, my friends, my teammates, my coaches, they're all responsible for me standing up here tonight. So little of it has to do with me. I was born into the game. Football was a way of life at the Rosenbaum house. My dad was a football coach. Many of you knew him. Some of you coached against him, and obviously some of you played for him. That's what we did at our house. It was football, football, football. My mom, Rosie, worked full-time, football coach's wife, knew everybody's schedules, got everybody where they needed to be, always knew what to say and when to say it, and I always had a great time with my mom, and still do to this day at 88 years old. So fun to be around her. My brother Todd, my sister Dan are most likely tell you that I was raised as the golden child of the family. But I learned a lot from both of them growing up on how to handle things in life. My teammates, I wish I could talk about every single one of them. The teammates that have over the course of your lifetime from Little Grizzly football, to high school, to college, into the pros, they help me so much and they afford you the opportunities to have the success that you have. So I wish I could talk about them all. It's really embarrassing almost to stand up here tonight without recognizing them. But for the sake of time, I'm going to focus on a group of individuals that really probably shaped my life more than any other, and that's my coaches. Me being a coach, I realized what kind of an impact you can have on kids. These guys, people in my life, always have a great impact on mine. Some of them, Ray Hobbs, my high school coach in Pullman, Jim Walden, my first college football coach at Washington State. Gene Stallings, my first pro football coach. Joe Bugle came after Gene. Jerry Rome, Jim Mora, all guys that had a tremendous influence on me in my life. However, I'd have to say that my time in Montana, I had a lot of great coaches as well. And as a young kid going to high school here, I can honestly tell you, I don't think I ever had a bad coach, ever. Some people say, well, that's because you were a good player. But see, well, I mean, those guys made me a good player. And they had patience with me, and all the things that go into that really helped me along the way. But the Montana ties that these guys had were awesome. So the first guy that I got to recognize real quick is Don Reed. Before Don Reed was a Montana Grizzly, Don Reed was an Oregon Tech Owl and coached me at Jack Starr's All-Star Football Camp in Lacey, Washington. When I was too young to be there, my brother Todd was there. I was like 8 or 10. My dad put me in the camp anyway, and Don taught me about playing quarterback. And he said, hey, you're a great athlete. Everybody's going to want you to play a bunch of different positions, but I want to tell you, you should always play quarterback. So Coach Reed was a big influence on my life as a young player. Bob Hermes, the sports guy from Missoula. Bob was my little Grizzly football coach for All-American Burger Bar. City champs, 7-0, okay? Beat 4 B's to win it all. It's a tough squad led by Robbie Laird and Jim Kostecki. But we got after them. They made football fun. Bob made football fun. And I learned pretty much real quick. That was my first foray into tackle football. And it was pretty obvious I loved the contact and loved to play the game. The second guy's here tonight is Andre Patterson, okay? Andre Patterson, you'll hear his story a little bit, but he was my all-star baseball coach. One of the few guys in Missoula, other than my dad, that could handle an out-of-control 15-year-old. I was pretty hot-headed in those days, and Andre really took it to me and got me in line and made me a really good player. Great love competition. He was a master motivator. Andre made me feel like he was the best player ever in any sport at any position. So thanks for that, Greg. Dan Gilman and Ron Jones at Huggy High School. Guys were my freshman football coaches, and the two guys that figured out that I could throw the javelin and said, hey, you should try throwing it. First day I went out and threw it 175 feet. Said I kind of like this, and so we kept going in that direction. Those guys were guys that taught me about goals and how to achieve goals and setting goals. So I know those guys a lot. Van Trox will probably make a former Grizzly quarterback, probably make the single most, the biggest decision that affected my development as a football player. We were playing Billings West my sophomore year. The first game of the year was my first varsity start. They came out here to Billings West. I got the living, beat out of me, threw several interceptions. Confidence was destroyed. Beat the, got back, was questioning myself. He said, you know what, I'm going to bench you. And didn't play me quarterback, moved me to free safety. Had me do little different things on offense, fill little offensive roles at time, and then kind of let me get comfortable playing football. Last game of the year, he moved me back to quarterback, and I didn't play the whole position the whole time. So it was great to have a coach like that had the foresight to see that in me. Eric Hayes, a former Grizzly basketball coach. You had to be tough to play basketball for Coach Hayes. He's a guy that really understood the game he coached, coached hustle and effort. Anytime. Coach Erickson, okay? Dennis Erickson's a member of this Hall of Fame. Quarterback, one of the most competitive people I've ever been around in my life. Coach understand how players operate. You know how to tell you enough for your head. A man with tremendous patience as he coached me through a season where I broke John Elway's total offense record. I also broke the Pac-10 record for interceptions thrown. which was so bad at that point that I asked him if I could move to linebacker. He said, absolutely not. If you're going to play at Washington State, you're going to play quarterback, and you're going to get better. And so pretty much the rest is history. I love my time in the NFL. It was short-lived. I didn't always set myself up for success. My greatest accomplishment while in the pros was probably the fact that I played every regular season snap for the Cardinals in 1990, 1,001 straight snaps all total. I wouldn't trade any of that for anything. Being an NFL quarterback is all I ever wanted to be. I earned the opportunity. I got to play and compete at the highest level of the game because of the efforts of so many. And thank them all for that. Thank you.
Is a will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
Missoula Sports Center.
The field for the Montana Mile, a highlight of the 41st annual Big Sky State Games opening ceremonies on Friday, was announced, courtesy of a BSSG press release last week. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. The 2026 Montana Mile marks the 35th race for the men and the 27th race for the women. The race is an invitational race featuring some of the state's fastest high school, college, and post-collegiate milers. Last year at Lockwood High School, Sage Brooks, a Missoula Hellgate graduate and an Oregon State senior-to-be, claimed her second Montana Mile championship Championship, while Jackson Wilson won his first Montana Mile. Brooks recorded a time of 4 minutes 55.65 seconds that added to her 2020 title. Wilson, who is from Box Elder, South Dakota, and won an NAIA National Championship in cross country for Rocky Mountain College in 2023, won last year's Montana Mile on the men's side in 4 minutes 12 seconds and change. Other competitors to watch in the women's includes a pair of the top high school distance runners in the state of Montana. Addison Kegel was the Montana Gatorade Runner of the Year in cross country as a freshman at Billings Central. She will compete in her third Montana Mile. Other competitors in the men's mile race includes Owen Smith, a six-time Montana Mile competitor who is from Billings and ran collegiately at Montana State. Smith was an All-American at MSU and recently set the record at the Missoula Half Marathon in June.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Canyon River Golf Club. This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Oh, it's just so good. It's so funny and it's so good. And this yacht, Hayden's killing it right now with the yacht rock. This takes me back to my childhood because I think there's a lot of people that were like born in the 80s or the 90s that had this experience. Like your parents were probably growing up in the 60s and 70s, so they had a whole bunch of vinyl. And then you're a kid and you're bored, you're looking around the house, you find the vinyl, you find the record player, you start listening to it. Well, my parents were very much into, like, my dad's outlaw country. My dad's a cowboy, so he was into Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson and George Jones and all that. Grew up really rurally in a ranch in Arizona. So he was always listening to cowboy music. And his vinyl was like, sort of all that. He also liked the Eagles and Bob Seger, Allman Brothers, like Lynyrd Skynyrd, stuff like that. My mom was all into Bruce Springsteen and Fleetwood Mac and Bob Dylan and Simon and Garfunkel and Dire Straits and all the singer-songwriters, right? But neither one of them was any sort of into yacht rock. But my good friends, Jason Ty Palmer, both of them played football for the Grizz years later, but their dad was all the way into disco and yacht rock. I remember when we found those yacht rock records, just listening to them and just crack it up because it's like corny, it's like elevator music, but it's also fire. Like the melodies and the beats and stuff are just crazy, and the amount of sampling that has influenced, especially in hip hop, years later, has been unbelievable. It's crazy to see the way it's sort of spread throughout the music world. So great job, Hayden, making me trip down memory lane and think about good memories from when I was a kid. Well, it's now 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm Colter Nuanez, coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. We were going to hear from Rick Ogle, Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame, but I, of course, went too long on my All-American and All-Big Sky talk. So then Tim Rosenbaugh's induction speech from the Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame went too long. So now we don't have enough time to play the I don't know, it's like 14, 16 minutes, something like that. So we'll hear from Rick Ogle later on this week. But I wanted to talk about two different things right here on Nuanez Now. First of all, keep those texts coming in. Who are you going for in the World Cup? 2 matches coming up. One tomorrow, 1 p.m. And that features France, the number 1 team in the world, versus Spain, the number 3 team in the world. Then on Wednesday, Argentina, who's number 2 in the world and the defending World Cup champions, they take on England. The English looking for their first World Cup championship game appearance since 1966. Argentina, England is at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. Who are you going for? Let us know. 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Let us know who you are going for in the Final Four of the World Cup. The other thing I want to talk about is the British Open quickly. Here is a testament to how good Scottie Scheffler is. When you go look at the betting odds on Sportsbet Montana for the Open Championship, Scottie Scheffler is again the favorite. Sportsbet Montana has been helping present our pro golf, like our major golf championship coverage for years now. I can't remember the last time I went to Sportsbet Montana's website, pulled up the odds for a major championship, and it was anybody but Scotty Scheffler's name at the top of the list. It's been several years. That's pretty crazy. Like, Scheffler certainly has not won all of the majors over the last several years, but he has been the betting favorite. I'd actually love to go through it and actually confirm what I'm thinking, but I bet you he's been the betting favorite for 10, 12, maybe even more, maybe more than that even, majors in a row. And again, he's won 4 majors. He won the Masters in 22 and 24. He won the PGA Championship in 2025, and he won the Open Championship in 2025. So he is the reigning British Open champion. But to be the favorite time in and time out, especially considering just how the diversity of the majors is pretty impressive. Like, there's very few golfers that could be the favorite at the Masters and the U.S. Open, for example, because this is contrasting styles of golf, or the Masters and the Open Championship, or the U.S. Open and the British Open. Like, it's all just different styles of golf and courses. So to be the favorite, no matter what it is pretty darn impressive. It's also interesting because Scotty has been the outright favorite in all of the majors so far this year. He's actually only won once this year. He won the American Express January 25th of 2026. He's taken it down to the wire a whole bunch of other times. I mean, he was in a playoff against Victor Hovland just a couple weeks ago and almost took that one home, but he did not. So his finish in major championships this year, I'm trying to find his table here. Well, we'll come back to that in just a minute, but he's not won a major this year. He's only won one championship so far this year. So 2026, he finished second in the Masters. He was tied for 14th at the PGA Championship. He finished tied for 4th at the U.S. Open. So he's in the mix, both the Masters and the Open. The U.S. Open, and now he is the betting favorite at plus 650, ahead of Rory McIlroy. Roy's also done a tremendous job of just staying steady right there at number 2. Tommy Fleetwood is the third betting favorite. That is a great example, right? Tommy Fleetwood is usually one of the, I'd say, 12 to 20 best odds in a major championship. I mean, he is a top 15 or top 20 player for sure. But he is a European golfer, and he plays a style that is conducive to the British Open. So that's an example. Like, he's a higher favorite in this than he is in a lot of the other tournaments, because that's sort of the style of golf he plays. Matthew Fitzpatrick, same deal. Fitzpatrick's usually in the top 20 or top 25 betting odds in majors. He's the fourth betting favorite behind Scotty, Rory, Tommy Fleetwood. Then it's Matthew Fitzpatrick. Fleetwood, by the way, plus 1250, and Fitzpatrick plus 1300 to win the British Open. John Rahm comes in as the fifth betting favorite at plus 1850. Xander Schauffele, who's a former British Open champion, he comes in as the sixth betting favorite at plus 2,200. Robert McIntyre is at plus 2,400, as is Victor Hovland. Colin Morikawa at plus 2,500, as is Justin Rose. Chris Gotterup, who is a guy that I think is Chris Gotterup's plus 2,600, and Ludwig Oberg is plus 2,700. Those two guys are like the two guys that have the title of quote-unquote best player to never win a major. Like, they're the two up-and-coming guys that I think will break through sooner than later. I used to think Oberg was a slam dunk. Now he's been that guy for several years now, so he's got to actually prove something to me. Gotterup's the next guy that's knocking on the door. So I think that's going to be fun to follow. Russell Henley's another one of those guys that's in that mix of best player to never win a major, and he's at plus 3,900. Shane Lowry's won a British Open before. He's at plus 4,400, as is Justin Thomas and Patrick Reed. And then you can go on down the line. You want to see more of these odds. Those are just winner odds, but if you want to see more of these odds for like top 5s, top 10s, top 20s, first round leaders, all that stuff, go to sportsbetmontana.com, find the golf tab, and you can check all of it out. You can also find all those odds on the Sportsnet Montana app as well. Well, it's now 129 ESPN Radio. I teased this earlier, but we'll get to the Montana Mile. Next, don't change that dial. Keep it right here.
In honor of our great nation's 250th anniversary, Mattress Firm is having its biggest 4th of July sale ever. Save up to $1,000 off top-rated Tempur-Pedic, or save hundreds off Purple mattresses and premium adjustable bases. Save up to 50% on top-of-the-line mattresses, all backed by their 365-day guarantee. See store for details. It's their biggest 4th of July sale ever at your locally owned and nationally known Mattress Firm.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
Les Schwab changed the tire game more than 70 years ago. Today, we still believe you should get more from less. Like more hustle, less hassle. More of the best service around, less of the runaround. Because we include America's best tire warranty in every tire we sell. So you get more unbeatable warranty, less charging you extra. It's why we're more than proud to say, you get more from less.
Jewelry Design Center. We want to be your jeweler for life.
ESPN Radio.
Well, Montana's gone viral, and it's about to go viral probably again. Welcome back to Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez. We are rocking out here in the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. So I don't know if you saw this, but on Saturday, a video that was courtesy of Mike McLeod of a enormous buffalo bison in Yellowstone National Park, basically tracking down and destroying a tourist. The man, I believe, is still alive. I think he's an older guy. I think they said he was in his 60s. But this buffalo basically stalks him down and then just throws him into the air. He goes like 8 feet in the air. if the video was like part of a slapstick comedy, you would think it was funny, but it's actually completely terrifying, and you have to think that the guy suffered some serious injuries because, he flies, truly, the report was 8 feet in the air. If you haven't seen this, tread lightly because it is actually sort of a violent and rather gruesome video, but it also just shows you how powerful bison are, but also just the power of the wild is. So that went viral, and now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just released a hype reel, and it's that video of the guy getting blasted into the air, followed then by a quick edit of a receiver doing like a backflip, and the tweet is titled "Flipping Out Because It's Almost Football Season." Again, I shouldn't laugh. This is a real video of a real person getting hurt pretty seriously. And you can say, well, it's because of their own stupidity, and I'm not going to argue with you at all. I'm not getting within 1,000 yards of a bison if I'm in Yellowstone National Park. No way. Do not feed the fluffy cows. Not a chance. Those, wild animals are not to be trifled with. I'll just leave it at that. But the video into the flipping out because it's football season highlight is, needless to say, pretty clever and pretty funny. So I certainly had a chuckle over that. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. You missing the show, you can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast. We talked everything from World Cup to my best of the weekend to Marty Mornhinweg's high school quarterback camp. We talked plenty about the All Big Sky picks that I submitted to the Big Sky Conference for football. We talked all about the All-Americans, the Stats Perform preseason All-American list. All of it on the pod. We also heard from Tim Rosenbaugh, the former offensive coordinator for the Grizz, who was an NFL quarterback once upon a time and an inductee into this year's Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame. All of it on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe. To finish that last point about betting and the betting odds for the British Open, I was sort of wondering aloud how many majors Scotty Scheffler had been a favorite for in a row. The answer is 15. 15 majors in a row. Scotty Scheffler has been the betting favorite. Hayden then looked up the contrasting Tiger Woods betting odds. Sports gambling certainly nowhere near as mainstream or as prominent as it back then than it is now. But Tiger Woods, between 1997, when he won the Masters for the first time, and 2013, which was basically when his peak closed, and then he got in trouble, and then hurt, and then everything that's happened over the last 13 years. During that time, Tiger Woods played in 64 majors. He was the favorite 58 times. Crazy to think of the amount of domination that he was able to craft during his unbelievable peak. We'll be back at it tomorrow at 4 p.m. In the meantime, have yourself a wonderful Monday night. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.